We believed it was inert, a relic. Now we understand its true purpose. Congratulations, you just handed humanity's oldest weapon.
The Zentari Institute for Xenopsychology had studied 412 sapient species. They had catalogued fear in all its forms. The Grovak feared open water. The Ilsai feared silence. The Perti, an entire civilization of them, feared the color white because on their homeworld white meant frost and frost meant death. Fear was data. Fear was predictable. Fear, to the Zentari, was just another variable to plot on a chart. Then they got their hands on a human. His name was Corporal Ethan Reyes, and he had been unconscious for 6 days when Dr. Veskother first stood over his medical pod, tablet in hand, for other researchers behind her. Species, human, she read aloud. Homeworld, Terra. Status, sole survivor of the Meridian colony vessel, recovered from wreckage in the Kestrel Belt. Behind her, a younger researcher named Dole leaned in. What do we know about their fear responses? Almost nothing, Vess admitted. Humans have only had 4 documented first contact events. 3 of those humans died before we could run proper studies. This one, she tapped the glass. This one we keep alive. It wasn't unkindness. It was curiosity. The Zentari didn't torture. They didn't need to. They had refined a technology far more precise. The somnograph, a neural imaging array that could reach into a sleeping mind and watch the nightmare unfold in real time, projected onto a screen for study. They had used it on hundreds of species. It was, by every measure, humane, painless, non-invasive. They had never used it on a human. Vess gave the order that evening. The lab dimmed. Reyes slept, his vitals steady, his breathing slow. The somnograph hummed to life, and on the wall-sized display, an image began to resolve. First, it was normal. A field. Wind. A woman's laugh. Then it changed. The sky went dark. Not with clouds, but with ships. Human ships, burning, spiraling down in flame. The field became a battlefield. The woman's laugh became a scream, cut short. Dole took a step back. Is this what he saw? On the Meridian? No, Vess said quietly, watching the readouts. This isn't a memory. Look at the neural pattern. This is original construction. He's building this, right now. In his sleep. The image sharpened. A boy younger than Reyes, maybe his brother, maybe a memory of himself, stood alone on a hill as the ships fell around him, and instead of running, the dream boy raised his arms. Not in surrender, in challenge. The lab went silent except for the soft mechanical whir of recording equipment. Species profile note, Vess murmured into her recorder. Voice unsteady in a way it had never been in 19 years of research. Human nightmare response does not follow standard threat avoidance patterning. Subject does not flee the dream. Subject confronts it. They ran the somnograph every night for 2 weeks. Every species the Zentari had ever studied dreamed of escape. Fear in the animal mind, in every mind they'd ever catalogued, meant one instinct: get away. Reyes never once tried to get away. Night 4. He dreamed of drowning, and instead of swimming for the surface, he swam down, toward whatever was pulling him under, fists already clenched. Night 9. He dreamed of his own funeral, watched from above as strangers wept over his casket, and the dream Reyes simply sat up in the coffin, looked directly at the camera they didn't know was there, and said, calm as anything, not yet. Night 13, the one that changed everything. He dreamed of the Zentari themselves. In the dream, they were monstrous, elongated limbs, too many eyes, exactly the exaggerated shape human fear always sculpted the unfamiliar into. They loomed over him in a lab not unlike the one he was actually sleeping in. And Dream Reyes looked up at them, strapped to a table, and smiled. You're going to regret this, he said, in a voice with no fear in it at all. Not because I'm strong. Because you just showed me what scares you. Vess froze the playback. Her hands were shaking, and she didn't understand why. Explain the reversal, Dole said, staring at the frozen frame. In the dream, he's not afraid of us. We're afraid of him. That's not a reversal, Vess said slowly, understanding dawning like cold water. Look at his fear response curve. It never spikes. Not once. Not in 13 nights of nightmares. His body doesn't process fear as threat. It processes fear as... She trailed off, checking the reading twice to be sure. As fuel. The Zentari had a saying older than their written history. A mind that cannot fear cannot be controlled by fear. They had assumed no mind was built that way. Fear was universal. Fear was the great equalizer between every species that had ever looked up at a hostile sky. Except this one. Vess pulled every record of human history she could access through the fragmented colony database, and the pattern held across every single account. Humans who ran into burning buildings. Humans who stood between predators and strangers they'd never met. Humans who, facing extinction-level odds, did not calculate the odds at all. They simply decided the odds didn't matter. It's not that they don't feel fear, she told the Research Council 3 days later, voice steady now, because she finally understood what she was looking at. They feel it more than any species we've documented. Their nightmares are more vivid, more violent, more personal than anything in our 400 species archive. Then why? Because somewhere in their evolution, fear stopped being a stop sign, Vess said. It became a starting gun. She put the final image on screen, the last frame of Night 13, Dream Reyes strapped down, smiling at his captors. We spent 2 weeks trying to find humanity's nightmare, she said. We catalogued their worst fears, expecting to find their weakness. She let the silence sit. We didn't find their weakness. We found their ignition switch. On the 14th day, Corporal Ethan Reyes opened his eyes. Vess was there. Alone this time. She'd sent the others out, some instinct telling her this conversation shouldn't have an audience. You've been watching my dreams, Reyes said. Not a question. Yes. He didn't look angry. He looked, if anything, mildly amused, the way you'd look at someone who'd wandered somewhere they really shouldn't have. Then you already know, he said, sitting up slowly, testing muscles that hadn't moved in weeks, that you picked the wrong species to study. Vess found herself asking the question she already dreaded the answer to. What do you mean? Reyes looked past her, out the observation window, at the 412 species worth of fear data hanging in neat, tidy charts on the far wall, and for just a moment, something in his eyes was very, very old. You spent 2 weeks learning what scares us, he said quietly. Every species you've ever met learned to run from that. We learned to run toward it. He swung his legs off the pod, stood, steady despite 2 weeks of stillness. So now you know our nightmare, Doctor, he said. Congratulations. You just handed humanity's oldest weapon to the last species in the galaxy who should ever have wanted it.